Welcome to the Zip 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 Zero podcast. Zip Zero Zip 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 Zero
with your host
Shannon Griffin. What's up, Davis Osborne? What's going on, man?
Hello, brother. Hello, brother. Hello, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm so glad you took the time out to do an episode with me here. I want to hear more about your career up to this point, how you got there, and I want other people to hear about it because I think you're a pretty phenomenal actor and I think you got big things ahead of you.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that much. As I shared in our earlier text message, I brought us a couple to virtually share. So here we are. Here we are. I'll crack one and we'll get to talking. So this is your second episode. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. This is only my second time doing a podcast, so you're somewhat of entertaining my my ability.
All around.
Exactly.
So awesome, man. Where are you actually from? Where was the Davis Osborne born?
I was actually born in the hills of West Virginia in a small town, and grew up there pretty much all my life. Raised by my grandmother and my mom, and some amazing women in my life, which I have great respect for the ladies. They taught me much. Growing up in West Virginia, it's very tribal, somewhat. You know your tribe, you know other people's tribes, and when a stranger comes in, everybody's asking, "Who are you, and why are you here, and what do you want?" And
Right.
so it's still very much like that when I go home. And but I'm glad that I grew up in that area because we were taught honest, hardworking, kind values. You know, if you want something, you work for it. If you don't have enough money for something, it's not yours. It shouldn't be yours. And to be thankful for what you do have. And I think that instilled a lot in me as far as just who I am and my character, my personal character, not the roles I take on. But
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we grew up fairly similar. I was brought up in a very hardworking family. You know, you were proud of what little you had, and you worked your
yes,
tail off, and you never took from somebody else. So
no,
I definitely understand that. I remember taking a small giraffe from daycare, and
oh,
anytime I touch something that somebody else has, and I think I might want it, and my butt hurts
yeah,
from
exactly.
that tail whipping I got when I was about
Yeah,
6 years old.
yeah. Those old fly swatters, man. They on a bare butt would leave little marks on you. And I was I was the youngest of four, and all my siblings are 10, 11, and 12 years older than I was. So basically, an only child. And
Mhm.
and I was kind of I was a favorite of my Mimi's, and so she she usually caught me before I was about to get in trouble, and she kind of warned me, which was always a good thing. Plus, I had three examples from my two sisters and brothers. I watched them really get the tar, taken out of them. So,
Did she warn you with a look, or did there was like some communication there, or did she say, "Hey, I'm about to"?
yeah, it was usually just a look. That's all it took. It was just one look or a heavy sigh, you know.
I
And I
use
was
that a lot.
like, yeah, exactly. And I knew at that point I needed to do some rethinking about what I was getting ready to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can be corrected with a little bit of corporal punishment. I do believe it seems to have faster results as long as it's not overused.
No, no, and that was the good thing. I didn't grow up in a house where it was used to control me. It
Mhm.
was used to teach me lessons for things that I did when I was bad. It's just like I still feel today, if you have a small child, it gets loose from you and runs out in front of the streets, and you are blessed enough to get it back, that there should be some interaction there
Mhm.
that you can't do that. That can't happen.
Yeah.
And so, but like I said, I grew up. I had what I needed. My family made sure I had what I needed, and I started working at 14. My mom had to sign a paper so I could go to work at a local department store called Rose's. I think they still have a few of them around, and I started out as a stock boy, and I can't even remember. I think I was making $3 and something an hour, and but I had this little older lady named Miss Margaret who was my supervisor, and she took a liking to me and the other guy that I worked with. So we didn't really have to do a whole lot. We just kind of hung out, unloaded some boxes, and we'd go there after school, hang out until 9 or 10 at night, and then head home. So yeah, I think a good work ethic for anybody to teach your child a good work ethic will carry them a long, long way in life.
I think I spent plenty of time working crappy jobs. So to not have to work a crappy job is pretty amazing. But I really think kids should one work retail. They should
Oh
work
yeah,
fast food and they should wait tables
oh
at
yeah.
some point in their life before they start a career because that gives you a very good litmus test of exactly what humanity is.
It is the truth, brother. And it if nothing else, it teaches you about humility and respect for others. And I've had my wait table jobs, I've had my bartending jobs, and I've had my service industry jobs where I hustled and tried to do the best I could. And you'd go to get that tip, and somebody'd leave you a quarter or a nickel, and you're working off $2 an hour, and man, I try to show much respect for anyone in my life that is there to help me or assist me in any way because I have great respect for it.
Yeah. I spent many days waiting tables, probably a couple years of my life because it's good money
Oh
for the
yeah,
amount of time that you're working. But if somebody would just leave the change because undoubtedly they don't understand how this works, I would always tell them that they left their change and I would take it back to them
yeah,
instead of taking it. I'm probably a little more verbal than some people are, and it gets me into a lot of trouble. So,
yeah. I was working at a low end steakhouse one time, and it was known for bad tips,
mhm.
and I would quit like on a nightly basis. Like I'm done. I quit. Throw my book down and storm out of the restaurant. The next morning, my supervisor would call me and be like, "Can you cover lunch shift today?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll be there at 11:30."
Oh,
Because it is what it is.
I tell people that if you watch the movie Waiting, it is by far the best representation, a little bit over caricaturized
Yeah.
of the individuals, but Waiting is almost the exact situation you run into when waiting tables.
Yes. Yes.
Personalities, the entire scenario is almost spot on.
The flair.
The flair, oh, I hated
Yeah.
the flair,
The
dude.
flair. The flair.
It's a lot like The Office TV show is a lot like Office life.
Yeah.
It's the same type of satire, and it's pretty amazing. They're both pretty spot on. So,
Yeah. I have great respect for those genres, especially like The Office, and of course, coming from England, originating there with Ricky Gervais, and then coming over here, I was a big fan of that show for the time it was on. Um, I kind of like that docu style that they do, but it's scripted.
mhm.
And I also read in a few articles where they were allowed to improv, a lot. And as an artist and as an actor, that's like one of the greatest gifts that somebody can give you if you're comfortable with that. Some other actors that I know aren't comfortable with that. They need the words from the page. I'm very thankful that I can kind of flip it if I need to.
Mhm.
Uh, and I've been very lucky too that I've worked with directors and writers that were like, make it your own. And I've been in both those situations. They'll say, make it your own, Davis, or they'll say, word for word, every and, the, and, but. And that's harder because sometimes their writing's not very good. and you're trying to make that come across or happen, and it's just not natural. So I'm very thankful for my directors that say, "You do you. I hired you for a reason." So
I think that freedom allows you to put more of your personality and you feel more of that character if you can embody that person a little more. What little I've done, which is nowhere near close to touching on the scale of what you've done so far in your career. It just and anytime I deal with anybody that's doing acting for me, which I haven't gotten a chance to work with any great actors, it's neat to take the idea. Like when I work with another artist of any sort, I'm like, this is the concept. Now, how do you view this concept? Make it yours. Like you were saying, I trust in what you do.
yeah,
That way they don't feel so restricted. I think a lot of that feels wooden if you don't get that freedom.
I recently worked with the biggest director I'd ever worked with, and we worked together for about 2.5 months in Atlanta. And we can touch on this a little bit later in the podcast or whatever, but the story kind of relates to it. Um, I was on my first Hollywood set, and I'd never seen anything like it. It's a machine. It is a huge machine, a money machine. I'm standing there with 350 people around me, all looking at me, and which is a little off-putting in the first place. Trailers, trucks, everything, catering, the whole bit. And my first day on set, um, I was working with a well-known actor one-on-one, and the director was in his video village. The DP was in his video village, and I was on set. And the director was giving me direction. He's very specific about physical things that I was doing. Move, move this way. Move your arm this way. Move your head this way. And it was off. I'd never worked with a technical director like that. And so we went through about 5 or 6 cuts or takes, and I went back to my makeup area, and my makeup girl said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm sorry, this is my first time on a big set, and I'm not sure I know what he wants." And she said, "Go ask him." And I said, "What do you mean, go ask him?" And she said, "Right there's the door. He's right up there. Go ask him." And sure enough, Shannon, that's what I did. I balled up, and I walked right up there, and I looked at him, and I said, "Hey, can you show me what you like and what you don't like?" And he said, "Sure, Davis, come on over here." He said, "Playback for Davis." And I really think that was important in our bonding for the rest of the film. It showed that he trusted me enough to be there, and that I trusted him enough to go to him and say, "I'm not understanding what you want, and I'm here to give you what you want." And it was amazing because we've become really good buddies through this entire crazy process. To the point of, we did this for about 3 weeks, me doing everything he asked me to do, and then he would go back to his hotel room and edit every night. I was outside my trailer smoking a cigarette one day, and he came across, and he was walking across the sound stage, and he said, "Come see me in a minute. I need to talk to you." And like I always did, I said, "Am I in trouble?" He said, "No, you're not in trouble. Just come see me."
That might
So
be how we grew up. That's
yeah,
every time
yeah,
somebody wants to see me, I know I'm in trouble.
exactly, exactly. And so I went and saw him, and he said, "Hey," he said, "I love what you're doing." And he said, "I have great respect that you're giving me every day everything that I want and more." He said, "But when I get back to the editing bay," he said, "I'm also seeing you trying to give me more of you." And he said, "Those are the takes that I'm really liking." And he said, "So from this point on, I want you to know that I'm going to let you off the leash a bit." And at first, that didn't sound like something, sounded weird to me. And I said, "Off the leash." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You'll know when it happens." So what would happen from that point on, even at the next time we were together filming, I would do about 10, 15 takes, sometimes 20, with him directing me directly. And then the first time he said, he's in his video village and he says, "Hey, Davis, I'm letting you off the leash right now. You do you. I'm just going to say roll." And he would roll, and I would get him like 5, 6, 7, 8 takes that of what I felt the character would be doing. And between the combination of what he taught me and was teaching me, and what I was allowed to perform, I think it made for some amazing moments in cinematic history. And
So when he was giving you that direction, was it more for a blocking and photography scenario, or?
yeah, it's it's a genre of film that that really is constructed. It's the horror genre.
Mhm.
So everything is kind of constructed with movements and with, with side glances, things like that. And I've watched horror films and I like horror films. I just don't watch them a lot because they scare me. And so when I was cast in this one, uh, I was like, I don't know, but I called my friend Candy in New York and I said, I don't know anything about this series. What's going on here? Is this all like blood and guts and boobies? And, and she's like, no. She said, this is an amazing series that you're in. And she said, and it could not be more perfect for you because you love Jesus. And she said, they used the Bible to fight off the demons. And I was like, wow, all right. So I did a little bit more research and come to find out, I was like, wow, I landed a pretty awesome role in an awesome film series. And so, and there's a huge story with that as well. Like I said, I spent 2.5 months in Atlanta learning what Hollywood looked like. And then all that went away with COVID. Um, everything, uh, any possibility, my role in the film, everything went away, and I was broken for a bit, quite a bit broken, to the point of I laid in the floor for about 2 weeks in the embryo position, just like, this sucks. This sucks so bad, and truly testing my faith though. It was weird, Shannon. It was like, here's a beautiful big chocolate cake, and it's all yours, but guess what? You can't have it now. And I was just like, shucks. So, yeah, there's a great story behind that. I will share in depth with others, and I'll come back on your show and share it one day.
Yeah,
I
when
would,
are you able to talk about it?
yeah, I would love to, because it's it's just funny how God works. I was supposed to be one character, and then I got dropped from the film. My agent dropped me because Cash Train was gone at that point.
Right.
A few days later, I get a text saying, "I need your email address. I need you to look at something." I had just gotten a new phone, so I wrote back, "New phone, who dis?" And all of a sudden, it texted back and said, "Is this Davis? This is your director. Why am I not in your contact list?" And he says, "You need to fix this now." I hadn't heard from him and I had not heard from him since he had called me to tell me, which is something else you never hear about. The director called me to tell me that the role was no longer there. He could have had 50 other people do that, Shannon. He could have had someone call my agent and say, tell Davis thanks, but no thanks. But no, he called me. And one of the things, he could tell on the phone that I was a little shaken up. And he said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm a little shaken up. I've given, 2.5 months to this, and now it's all gone. And this was my big break." And he said, "I want to ask you a question." He said, "Would you rather be in the movie and not have made the amazing contacts that you have made? Or would you rather not be in the movie and have these amazing contacts that you have made?" And that made a lot of sense to me, because since then, I've seen the truth in that, with the producers, with the director, with other people on the film set, the makeup artists, the wardrobe people. They all remember me. they know me, and whether I'm in the movie or whether I'm not. And I got to meet those people. And a lot of actors will work their entire careers and never get that opportunity to meet those people. And so I'm very well, as I said, my agent dropped me, and then about a week later, I got that text from the director, and it was him saying, "I got a role for you. You're back in." He said, "You know, you're back in." And so I went to Atlanta and recently in February and filmed for about 8 days, and it was just the first couple of days it was like walk of shame. If you can relate to that, it's like I'm back on a film set that I was on for a month and a half or 2 months, and I'm not that guy anymore. Like that role's gone. Now I'm this role, and so anyway, yeah, I lost you. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I was showcasing you, man. You were doing
Oh,
great communication there. I was sitting over here looking like a knot on a log, and you're all animated. I didn't want to be distracting over here. Just being
no, 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 no. I'm happy to share the screen with you, but the cool thing was too, the first character I played was very one dimensional. When I got to go back the second time, the character I got to play, I had much more freedom with. And to the point of the director sent me a great article that the director Bergman, had written about how we are volcanoes and icebergs. It's just at different times we have to be those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and he shared, he said, you and I are much like volcanoes, but we have to be careful with that because we burn out really fast if we're not careful. And so when we were on set, he said, "All right, Davis, I'm just going to roll, and you do you." And I'm there with 80 people around us. And so he'd be like, "Okay, more volcano. Okay, more iceberg." And I actually heard a couple of the crew members off to the side say, "Do they have their own language now?" And so it was like that though, working with him, and he's forever changed my life. And you people can go to my IMDb page because it is up there. I just can't talk about it because of they'll come and take me away legally, at least until the project comes out, which is June 4th, I think, coming up this summer.
Do you think we'll be in movie theaters by then? Do you think we'll be able to be out in public and see that kind of stuff?
Well, it's funny. These when COVID started, I think a lot of us artists felt like, oh my God, things will never be the same again. And some of us actors were like, I may never ever be on a film set again because they made it sound like it was the end of the world. You know what I mean? And they had us all in this scared space of like, if you go outside and breathe the air, you're going to die. And I think a lot of people took that to heart. And others went through that whole, what is that, 5 stages of grief or something like that? Or
Yeah,
of death of,
yeah,
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah, to where you mourn it, and then you're pissed off about it, and then you come to some resolve with it. And I read an article early on though that said if anybody was going to figure this out, it would be the film industry because of all the creatives and all the money involved, that they would figure out a way to make this happen. And sure enough, if that didn't happen, if you look at kind of what happened, um, we were supposed to do reshoots that March when it hit. Of course, all that got squashed. And then when I did go down in February, yeah, I went and took my COVID test every morning. I went to set with my mask on, my shield. Everybody was shielded up. We had COVID, people on set that walked around and reminded everybody, you're too close, stand back. And, when we got on set, the actors with dialogue, they had big bags that we would put our shields and our masks and stuff in. And so we would rehearse with all that on. And then when the director would be ready to roll, they would come around and collect those things, and we'd do it. We'd go. And then they would come back around and give us our protective equipment again. Very well run, man. I know it's costing them a ton of money, though. Testing, casting crew every single day. I'd get a questionnaire in the morning at the hotel and through an email saying, do you feel sick? Are you running a fever? Anything like that. And I'd go to set. I'd take my test. I'd wait in my car for 30 minutes. And then they would say, you can go to base camp. And then I would go to base camp. And you felt pretty safe at that point because, you know, everybody's being tested. But yeah, I think, I don't know, so much. We've learned so much, and I still question, did we really have to learn so much? Couldn't we have learned just a little and figured it out and been like, oh, this is what this is? So,
So you're we're dealing with a society right now that, you know, as well as I do, um, there's STDs that you can easily catch, you know, with unprotected sex.
yes,
And people have no regard for their genitalia, which I'm pretty fond of mine.
I
So
like
they
mine.
go out, yeah, they go out and they put it at risk. So wearing a mask in public relative to that, which, you know, in general, to me seems a little more extreme.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, if you can't get them to wear condoms and protect themselves that way, some people just aren't going to do anything to protect themselves.
no, they have no regard for it. I did a lot of research about us as human beings, and how we're made. And you know, this is an amazing piece of work right here that we have with
Yeah.
all of its parts and pieces and immune systems. And I found it fascinating. One doctor I listened to said, why do you think we put babies in the floor? He said, so that their hands get flora and fauna, you know, all
Mhm.
in their system to build that immune system. And and I was a little worried about that with the whole situation. With all of a sudden, we're not interacting with one another. We're not touching things. We're going around with masks on. We're not sharing air. We're not, and it freaked me out. That side of it freaked me out a little bit because I was like, what's going to happen when we take these masks off and we stop washing our hands? Our bodies are going to be like, what's going on here? And so, and I even heard doctors say they were worried that when all this panned out, how many people were going to be coming in with other diseases, other infections, because they didn't build up an immune system to it.
Or
So
they
I don't
weaken,
go ahead.
or they weaken the immune system they already had by not having a consistent exposure.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in those. I have a few people in my life that are immune compromised, and and I understand what that is to them, and I have great respect for that. You know, if I'm not going to be around them, I choose not to out of respect for them.
Mhm.
And if I have to wear a hazmat suit to be around them, then that's what I'll do. Um, I don't know. It's been a very questionable time, I think, for everyone. Uh, just in general, just for humanity, how we treat each other, how much respect we have for each other, how much disrespect we have for one another in regards to personal views and beliefs. And I've seen it on both sides, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all.
No, and it does not seem to be going in a positive direction. So I hope everybody can get their junk together, kind of look internally and see that the person across from you is not your enemy. Everybody's going for the same life, liberty, pursuit of happiness and safety of their family. You know, everyone wants to eat, everyone wants to be as comfortable as possible. You know, I think that, you know, I'm a fairly right-wing conservative individual, but
Mhm.
I also don't think I should tell you how you should live your life. as long as you don't hurt anybody, have at it.
No,
You know?
I mean, that's what this country was based on is you have the freedom to be you. You can't go out and hurt somebody and not have some consequence to it, but you can go out and say what you want. You can go out and pretty much, live your life as you want. And that's the beauty of what this country is. Uh, I I'd learn about so many other countries where, especially some of the Middle Eastern countries, where still females are not allowed to like leave the house at certain hours of the day, or they're not allowed to be out without someone else, or God forbid they have makeup on. They literally their life could be taken for these things, and I think we have it pretty good over here. I love this country. I love what it stands for, and I love the people in it. Of course, like we shared, I come from a blue collar state where you were like you said earlier, you were thankful for what you had, and you didn't covet what someone else had. So
I remember playing basketball at the rec league that was an adjoining town to mine, and I was probably 13, 14. I wasn't a great basketball player, but I could jump pretty high. And a kid on my basketball team pointed at my shoes and he's like, "Hey man, are those Jordans?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And they were McGregor knockoffs from Kmart or something like that. And I wouldn't say he made fun of me. He wasn't like, "Ha ha ha, you got, knockoff shoes." I mean, he called them fakes or something, but I had this much care of the brand name. I
yeah,
was
didn't
playing
matter.
basketball. It didn't matter to me,
Yeah,
but I grew up around a bunch of other kids who were in the same financial situation. And it wasn't because my parents didn't work hard. They just didn't work in, those jobs that made a lot more money.
yeah.
We lived in what was a lower income county and school system, but now everyone's trying to move to that area because it is a little further away from everything and people want peace and quiet now. And that's something that we enjoyed until I left. So
I think we're seeing that again, especially after Corona. Um, I've seen it I live in Charlotte, and I've recently spent some time in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. There's a large influx of Northerners moving to the South right now, and I think it's because they want a simpler way of life, especially after what they've been through in their states that they live in. Whether it be lockdowns, whether it be mandates, whether it be curfews, things of that nature. Um, I think in some of those instances that those were the right decisions. I think in many other of those instances, those maybe could have been thought out a little differently. And I know a lot of people that I've met that are moving down here from the north have shared with me personally, 10 reasons why they're leaving. And it's not so much, it's just for a simpler way of life, and
Mhm.
for the government not to have so much say in their daily life
So
and their finances.
the biggest thing you got to take away from that, and I hope these people take away, is that they should not bring what they're used to here to change where they're coming.
Yeah,
Like you
and I hope
said,
that. Yeah, I think most of the ones that I've talked to, I think have that realization. It's kind of like, oh, what's going on over there? That looks nice. I like that. I like that my child may actually go back to school,
yeah,
in a classroom. Or I like that I could go to a park and have a picnic with my family and things of that nature. And I don't know. I think there's gonna be a culture shift because of this. I'm not sure what it's gonna look like. I think there's gonna be just a shift of mindsets. Um, because when you're living it at the time, it looks a lot different than it does maybe a year or 2 years later.
Yeah. I think I think some of the things that we were probably looked down upon by various people living in the country, those tighter knit, more podunk or redneck esque type communities. I think those things taught us a lot of things that other people are just now learning. But it seems like there's a huge swing on this other percentage to go the opposite direction. And I think that's where our divide in our country is coming now. You've got some people really wanting that slower, I wouldn't necessarily say conservative lifestyle, but the rules are in place. They're safe. There's safer, quieter areas. You're not interacting with tons of people, and then you've got other people who think that everything needs to be regulated. And one of the biggest situations that you're going to run into is you got the individuals that live like we grew up, and those are independent individuals who can do it on their own. Whatever it takes, they're going to make happen, and
Yeah.
they rely on the efforts from their back. And I think people that grow up in urban areas where there's so many people, that's an entirely different societal makeup. It
And
doesn't those
lifestyle. It's a different
Yeah.
lifestyle. Yeah.
And you've got situations where the same game plan can't work in both places. It doesn't scale the same way.
No.
And I think those mindsets, there has to be an understanding of each other. And maybe people can interact more, and if people talk more and listen more, not talk more. There's way too much talking going on.
Yeah.
So
My Mimi, God gave you one mouth and two ears. And I'm sure you've heard that one too. And I just, and I think that's what I tried to find in all of this is what's my what's my compassion level? Like I know I know I'm compassionate. I know I have it. I know I have compassion. Um it's pushed to its limits sometimes, but it's something that I really found more of, I think, through this whole process by watching other people and listening to other people, not by talking to them, just by watching and listening to them. And sometimes, sometimes I have to be honest though, I had less compassion for some of the people I knew by hearing the vitriol and the hate and the judgment that they were spewing, and people I never expected to be like that. And I there was a lot of clearing in my life this past year of people and things, and
mhm.
not so much on my part, just them leaving. And what was a friend of mine used to say? Uh, Rejection is God's protection. And my life's been a lot quieter and a lot nicer and a lot easier without those people that like to jam their thoughts down your throat. Since
Yeah.
they're now that they're gone, it's been a lot easier and a lot like you and I've had conversations, in the past year, just here and there. And it was nice because it was conversation. And we
Mhm.
each took the time to talk and to listen. And I learned a great amount about people through you and what you shared this year. And I want to thank you for that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, we've had some great conversations, and I think, yeah, I think a lot of people need to just sit and listen and understand. I think people are bickering over the slightest sliver of a difference of how they think the world should be, but everyone wants the same thing.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Everyone wants a safe environment. They want to be able to pursue their dreams. Now, this is where me as an artist, even a visual artist, which I'm mediocre at,
No,
Um,
no. You discount yourself. You've done the last work you did for me. That graphic design you did. I'll share with the audience. I needed something specific and special to give to the last director I worked with, because we had grown close, and I asked Shannon, "Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this?" Shannon's like, "I'm not sure." Next thing I know, he sends me this amazing piece of graphic art that I had put on a canvas and gave to my director, and heard nothing but great accolades about the art itself and the artist. And so, big ups to you on what you do as an artist. And back to what you were saying.
yeah, well, thank you for that shout out there. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people, we all want to do what we want to do. We all, I would love to paint pictures all day and really get into the creative aspect of that. But just because I want to do it doesn't mean it will support my life.
Brother.
You know, just because I want to be a painter does not mean I'm a good enough painter to where that's the only thing I do with my life.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people now who think they should be able to do whatever they want without making the sacrifices to get there. And none of this stuff comes easy. From as an actor, you're got to be in front of so many people. You're putting so much time in. Nobody walks on the set and all of a sudden they're Brad Pitt.
No.
That dude's that's a beautiful dude. I don't think anybody can be too much like him.
No. No.
There's one
No.
Brad Pitt, and he's doing pretty good. And I don't know what his story is on how long it took him to get where he was going, but I'm sure he didn't walk on a set and all of a sudden he's Brad Pitt that we all know today.
No, I shared last night because I've been having to process through a lot of things, situations, and things and people here recently, and I shared, you know, that whole overnight success thing. Um, that I don't think that ever happens. Um, Success is you being better today than you were yesterday, and pushing harder today than you pushed harder that you pushed yesterday.
Mhm.
That's success for me. That's the true definition of success. And success is getting up the next day and not giving up. Uh, because that's success for me. That has been success for me for the past 15 years. When I set out on this little journey to be a little gypsy actor, and I've gone from I started out in metal music videos, and I went to little short films. I would not pay I would put my power bill off so I could go do a short film, just so I'd have the money to go do it because they weren't paying. And it I did that and hustled, man. That word hustle has never been had a bigger meaning than as an artist. When you're an artist, is having to hustle. And I'll never forget. I was talking to a good friend of mine, John, one time. I'd been doing films for about 4 or 5 years. I'd made somewhat of a local connection to people, network. People kind of knew who I was, what I brought to the table. And I told John, I said, I'm going in the hole here. I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to have to, maybe give it up. Or I had a day job. I had 2 day jobs. But, living alone in Charlotte, it's not cheap.
Mhm.
And so John told me, he said, "Are you choosing your projects?" And I said, "I mean, I'm doing what I have to do." And he said, "Are you placing a value on what you bring to the table?" And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Do you have a day rate?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure what that is." He says, "You need to have a day rate when you go onto a film set." He said, "For the first 8 hours, this is what you work for. Every hour after that, it increases $50 because that keeps people serious about what they're doing. They
Yep.
know that they have Davis Osborne for 8 hours at this rate. If we mess around and goof off, it'll cost me a lot more money." And he said, "Davis, if you don't place a value on what you do and who you are, someone else will." And he said, "They will use you up and toss you to the side to move right on to the next person." And Shannon, I hate to say that, but that's truly kind of what happens.
Yep.
People will use you up if you don't have a value. And if you don't place a value on you, somebody else will. And it's gonna be cheap. It's gonna be real cheap.
That's one thing that I've learned with graphic design. And I found that if I put there's a certain rate now that I pretty much work for, or I'm not
Yeah.
going to do the project.
You do it by the project or by the hour that's gonna take to do the project, or
Project because, you know, doing this for over 25 years, I've learned to be a lot more efficient. So I make more money if I go by project. And then
my
eventually,
NASCAR, yeah, my NASCAR boys do that same thing. I do NASCAR voiceover. And
Mhm.
so I call them my NASCAR boys because there's a crew that I work with down there. And from sound design to directing to producing to documentaries, things like that. And a lot of them, they do by the project. And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, project pay rate, you know, basically sometimes you can knock a graphic out and you hit it a home run first time you do it, you know, and maybe it takes you 3 hours, which isn't a lot. Um, but you've got thousands of hours to get to the talent level to be able to knock it out in 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I pick and choose my clients now. If I don't feel like I can do the project, I just decline it. You know, I'm not starving. I don't need to do it. So that puts me in a unique position where I get to work with people that I want to work with. I would rather do something that I find fun for free than make $500 to $3,000 on something that makes me miserable.
Yeah.
So I won't do it. This is my time and my freedom to do whatever I want to in my spare time, which I have about this much of anymore. You know, I place value on that. So so I understand. You're having a day rate, it keeps people honest. I found that working on anything film related, broadcast related, there is a ton of wasted time.
Oh, brother. It's
Wait,
nothing. The thing that bothers me the most is if I'm on an indie film set for 12 hours and I know I've still got 5, 6 more scenes that they have to film that night, and I hear a group of people over in the corner talking about, what should we have for dinner? I don't know. What do you think we should have for dinner? I'm thinking Subway. No, I was thinking pizza. And I'm like, there should be one of you thinking about this and getting it done, and the other 5 should be working on getting my stuff done. And oh, guy, hurry up and wait takes on a whole new meaning in the indie film world.
it is
Yeah,
insane how that's been my experience. We would sit and wait for 3 and 4 hours to shoot 5 minutes, and then you got 2 more hours to shoot 5 more minutes. Like, wow, this could probably be planned a little bit better.
yeah. I
So
had a yeah,
I try not to waste people's time because I understand that it's especially if people are doing favors for me because usually anything I've worked on to this point has been very low budget. So food or hanging out or whatever it is that we're doing, everybody's on the same page. I found when we used to do music, if you're not clear up front, then people have excuses on the back end of, and they can say things about you or start rumors or whatnot, and that's never the case. So I found that you really need to get as much out and upfront as possible, so everybody's on the same page. Everybody's expectations are managed,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
I've been in that director's seat and producer's seat, and I never understood the importance of pre-production until it was my project. And I'm a big believer in pre-production and getting your team all in line before that very first day and saying, look, we're here to make art and to have fun, but we're also here to be efficient. And out of my grandmother, God bless her, reminding me, I used to work for the airlines, and it was programmed in you to not be late. You were always an hour. You were there an hour before you were supposed to be there. And I've had friends in my life that were always late. We'd be meeting for dinner at 7 o'clock. They'd show up at 7:25, 7:40. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Here I am. Concerts, they come rolling in late. Parties, they come rolling in late. And it started to bother me. And my Mimi used to say, she said, people that are always late in your life always value their time more than your time. And she says, you have to take assessment of that. And I do. I'll grant you you're stuck in traffic once or twice, but if you're constantly late and you're wasting my time, that shows me, it tells me a lot about you, that you value your time more than you value my time. And in this business, it's hard. I did see, like I said, I got to be inside the Hollywood machine. Talk about efficient, man, down to the seconds of what you are doing. Of course, you've got 350 people working on it and everybody doing their job, but still, there is no wasting time.
I tell people that when they watch the credits roll at the end of a movie,
yes,
every one of those people were doing hard work, or they
yes,
were, well, 99% of them actually had tasks they were doing full
yeah,
days worth of work. That's
yeah,
how many people it takes to make that type of movie.
yeah.
There's a few producers and things that probably don't do that much work, but yeah, but there's all those names are there for a reason. Those people are putting in work and they're necessary to make something flow as good as those go.
Yeah, and I made sure when I was on set, I would stumble into another soundstage where we would be filming the next day or something like that, and they would be building the set. And those are artists. Those guys are artists that create the set, the design, the world that you're in. And I was in awe. And I would go up and I would thank them, and they'd be like, "Who are you?" I'd be like, "Oh, I'm just a little actor." But
Right.
my costume people, my makeup people, my hair people, I would thank them because I would tell them, I can't do what I do without you guys. You guys make all the magic, and I get to come in and just live in it. And and I'll tell you, Shannon, at the wrap, towards the end of wrap, and at the wrap of the film, so many people came up to me and thanked me for coming up and thanking them. That they very rarely had an artist or actor come up and speak about their work or give thanks to them for their work. And you're right, those credits at the end that last for 5-10 minutes of people, those are all people that put sweat equity in to that project. And while you're watching not this pretty face but the pretty faces up on screen, there's about 300 or 400 other people hammering nails, painting walls, fixing stuff, making stuff,
Pulling cable.
pulling cable. Exactly. While that's all going on, while that's all being filmed.
It's insane. I don't think that people understand that mechanism that creates that art and how many people have to touch it. Most people think that there's a guy with a camera, you stand in front of it, you can knock it out with two people.
Yeah.
Completely not the case. I think that was when we were trying to do indie stuff beforehand, we started realizing how many people you need. 3 or 4 people makes it extremely difficult. And then you start getting 10, 12 people and you realize you need 20 people. And it's hard to find those people that, that want to work and do that, especially for very little to no money.
It's a passion. It really is. I'm getting ready to jump onto an indie project of a friend of mine who I've coached as an actor, and this guy, this guy gave up a lot to get the finances in place to make this indie feature film. And he asked me, he said, I would be honored if you would take on this role. And that meant a lot to me that he would ask me. I'm getting
Mhm.
paid, I'm getting paid a little bit, but I'm doing it more because I believe in this art and I believe in the other people in this art. I come from indie. This is another, I feel like I'm on the Dick Cavett show, smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. It's like Johnny Carson here back in the day. Um, I was I was doing my own stunts on this last film, and I had a stunt coordinator. It was awesome. It's the best part of my day was working with my stunt guys. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Harnesses and straps and just tearing your body apart. And it was the most fun. As an actor, it's the most fun I've ever had, was being able to do my own stunts. Well, there was one stunt called for me to do one day, and we went and rehearsed it the day before we were supposed to shoot it. And while I was rehearsing it, I could hear the whispers of the producers in the background going, "Why is Davis in that situation? Why is Davis doing this?" And there was a rumbling amongst the head muckety mucks. So I didn't think much about it, but I get to set the next day, and my director says, "Davis, I need to talk to you." And I'm like, "Am I in trouble again?" And he's like, "No, you're not in trouble. Just walk with me." So he took me off to the side, and Shannon, he said, "You know, I love you." He said, "I love you." He said, "I love your dedication." He said, "Your hard work." He said, "You're great at everything you're doing." He says, "But I we collectively can't allow you to do this." And I was a little bit crushed. I was like, "What do you mean you can't let me do this?" And he's like, "You've become important to us." And he says, "We care about you." And he said, "None of us would ever want to see anything happen to you." And he says, "The fact is," he said, "if something happens to you, it happens to everyone around you." And I understood what he meant at that point, that if something happens to me, production's dead for however long. But he said, "You're upset about this, aren't you?" And I said a little. I said, "I get excited for the stunts." I said, "I come from an indie world." I said, "Where they say Davis crawl under the car, Davis climb the building, and that's what I do." And he said, "I come from an indie world too." He said, "Look around. This ain't indie anymore." He said, "There's a lot riding on this." And he said, "We would never, ever want to put you in a position to where it would hurt you, the project, or all of these people." And Shannon, that's when it really hit me. That was a huge learning mark on my journey, was this ain't about us. This ain't about me. It ain't about them. Collectively, it's about everyone in art, on a project. And I understood it at that moment, that I had crossed over from crawling underneath cars and climbing buildings to I was an asset. I at that point became more than just an actor. And I respected and appreciated that, though, that he came to me with that. But I know the producers were all like, "What are we doing here? Why is Davis doing this? Davis can't be doing this." And I had a great stunt double. That was the other thing. His name was Matt, and I think it was sad because whenever I would do my own stunts, I would look over and Matt'd have this little sad face on his face, like, "It's my job," you know.
It's like
And
a pinch hitter coming in, a pinch hitter coming in and then crushes one, and you could have had that at bat.
yes, exactly, exactly. And so Matt and I became good friends on set because he was my stunt double, and we spent a lot of time together. And I met some amazing people down there doing what I do, and getting to do what I do. But it I don't know. It was like, it definitely was it was like a crash course in Hollywood 101. And we were on location at an old hospital one day, and walking around 11 o'clock in the morning, and Crafty's walking around with these trays with little boats. And I'm like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Snack." And I'm like, 11 o'clock in the morning? This is awesome. We just had a big breakfast. And then I'm like, "What is it?" And they're like, "Oh, it's crab claws and crab legs." And I was like, "At 11 o'clock in the morning?" And they're like, "Davis, do you want us to go get you some?" And I was like, "I'm not sure how I feel about this." And sure enough, that was Hollywood. And so, and I'll share this. I'll probably share this story in the future, but I want to share it on your show, especially. It was the night we wrapped, and I'd gotten close to all these people, and I was in my tent waiting to go on set to do one of my last scenes. It was a long day. It was a 14-hour day, and we were all pushing, like being pissy and tired. And one of the executive producers came to my tent and he said, "Davis, walk with me." And when the executive producer says that, you walk with him. And so we walked outside the sound stage, and there was a truck there, like a food truck that made hamburgers, French fries, and milkshakes. And he said, "Somebody told me you like chocolate milkshakes." And I said, "I do." And he said, "That's for you." And dude, I'm not sure an Academy Award, a SAG Award, or anything like that will mean as much to me in the future as that moment.
Your own milkshake, son.
My own milkshake truck, you know? And, and of course, everybody else shared in the blessing of it, but they called that in just for me. And because he heard that I like chocolate milkshakes. And I have to say, I probably had one of the best first Hollywood experiences on a film set that an actor could ever have. They spoiled me rotten, completely rotten.
Well, brother, I've just following you and us having, developing our friendship over the last couple of years and just having conversations, I appreciate the humbleness of, that you have and your work ethic. And, I follow you even though I don't talk to you about some of the stuff you're doing. I'm watching it and I think it's a neat path in your career. But if I catch you making people pick certain colored M&Ms out of your candy dish, I'm gonna come slap you around.
I like all the color M&Ms, by the way. I like
Exactly.
all. I'm like, I
Exactly.
no, no, I like all my M&Ms. It's funny because they would on when you're on a set like that, you constantly have people coming to you going, "Davis, anything we can get you? Davis, do you need anything? Davis, would you like anything?" And that's very hard to get used to. And but they commented later on that I even heard that they said the only thing Davis asked for is ice water because it was so hot some days. And like they would say, it was sweet though. I'd go to Crafty. I carried a little bag on set, and I'd go back to my hotel, and I don't have any money. So I'd go to Crafty and I'd load up on stuff to take back to the hotel every night, like crackers and milks and cereal for in the morning. I grocery shopped at Crafty,
Hey,
and yeah, and so I guess word got around that I was robbing Crafty every day, and so the crew would come up and be like, "What kind of chocolate you got in that bag, Davis?" And I'd be like, "What do you mean chocolate?" And they'd be like, "We know you got chocolate in that bag. What kind of chocolate you got in that bag?" And I would have to like share my chocolate with the crew because they knew I was robbing Crafty. And then our second AD, she knew I was down there and didn't have any money either. This was my first big project, and she would call me and she'd be like, "I need you to come in for stunt training tomorrow." And she said, "It's the weirdest thing. It's right at dinner time." And so she would always schedule any of my stuff that was going on around lunch or dinner so that she knew that I would be fed that day. And dude, I'm so thankful for the people that have looked out for me and continue to look out for me. And I appreciate you much for following the work. It's not easy, and I will tell the younger actors out there, you're going to have to sweat, and you're gonna have marks on your body, and you're gonna have to do things that are uncomfortable. Not in a bad way. Don't go doing things in a bad way. But you're gonna have 14-hour days. You're gonna have 16-hour days. You're gonna be mad and question why you're doing this. But I'm gonna tell you also, nothing great in your life, nothing amazing on your journey ever came easy. Look back and think about it. Nobody just came and handed you $1 million. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. And if nothing else, while you're earning the things, you're also earning respect from others. And hopefully, if nothing else, I've earned a lot of respect from a lot of others.
I think and it just shows, man. You seem like a tried and true soul there. Great heart. You got a great career going, and it looks like you're pushing in the right direction. I think you keep pushing, man. You're going to get exactly where you want to go, and you'll be there before you even realize you made that much space.
I
Uh,
appreciate that, Shannon. After my last scene that I shot in Atlanta, the director, he said, "Cut. I've got everything I need." And he didn't have to do this, but he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Davis Osborne," and the entire crew clapped. So then I went back to my tent to collect my things, and I turned around, and he was pushing the 6 foot to be close to me. The director was standing there, and he said, "Amazing work, Davis." He said, "I'm so glad you came back." And he said, "Many more." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Many more." And I said, "What?" And he said, "We are going to do many more films together." And that means a lot to me when a director comes and says, "I get it. I see what you bring, and I want some more of it. And we're going to do more work together." And there's a lot of assholes in this business, lots of them. I've run into a few, and but I do have to say I've learned from them as well. And the greatest thing I've learned from them is figure out that they're an asshole within the first 3 or 4 minutes and walk away. And that's what I do now. Even if I know it's a big opportunity, even if I know it could be maybe a step forward, I know in the end it's going to be a big step backwards because I'm going to have to deal with their assholeness.
yeah.
And so I don't know. I coach other actors and I try to give the best advice I can to up and coming actors and artists. But like you said earlier, I don't know where people think that it's a gravy train where you just hop on and people just give you things. Um, I don't know that mentality, and I think there's very few that actually do know that mentality. Like the excessively rich, maybe
Yeah.
think that way because they were born into great wealth and they've had things just brought to them their entire life. But for the greatest amount of us, probably 98, 99%, you got to hustle a little bit.
I think that's the message that I think that's the message everybody needs to take from this discussion. Because I mean, you're out there hustling, and you've made those big leaps and bounds, those career moves. You're moving in the right direction. It's starting to open up for you. We're catching you here before you get so isolated from normal people.
I don't know if
Uh,
that'll happen. I don't think that'll happen.
but yeah, man. How what's projects can people see you in upcoming and now, if you can speak about them?
Well, for the one I've been talking about on here that I can't mention the name, they can check out my IMDb page. It's on there, and I'm very thankful to a lot of local directors that have gotten to know who I am and gotten to know my work, and will reach out to me and offer me a role without even auditioning. That's the coolest. Is when I get a phone call or a text message saying I got a role for you, and I'm just like, "Ooh, what is it?" And uh, Gary Wheeler is a local director who does a lot of films for Inspiration Network, which he has, God bless him, he's put me in, I think we counted 5 or 6 or 7 of them over the years. And Mountaintop, he gave me my first kind of big break in a film called Mountaintop, which is, I'm very proud of that film. It's a family friendly film for the viewers. Uh, I play the bad guy, of course, with a face like this. That's what happens. And then I'm getting ready to. We have a project that has been in the works for a while called Patient 27. We're just waiting on angels to come down and drop money upon us to make that happen, and which I'm real proud of that project as well. Through Allen Films Media Group and Artistic Connection, and then I did a punk film with my friend Candy called Triggerfish. Some of it's in my demo reel, but that film is still, it's been years, but it's still being processed and edited, which I hope it will see the light of day one day. And then I'm getting ready to do a film called The Mutt, which is an independent feature that'll be shooting in Hickory, North Carolina. And
My hometown, man.
huh?
That's
Is
my
Hickory your
hometown.
hometown?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come out. Come out while I'm up there.
Yeah,
Come
dude.
to
What you
set.
just let me know.
Come to set, dude. I'd love to see you there. You're welcome. You
Yeah,
as my
let me
guest.
know. Let me know,
Uh,
man. I know that whole area. You know, where are you guys shooting there?
all over.
Mhm.
There's. I have one scene on a big bridge. I have another scene in a garage, and it's a mafia movie. So it's about the mob, and I play Eddie Three Fingers.
Do you have so that probably down towards Oxford Dam, there's a really awesome bridge there with the dam in the
I
background.
bet that's where we're shooting then.
I
Very
think that's
cinematographic. Yeah,
yeah, because I don't think the other bridges are going to set up as well. There's a train bridge in the Roadhiss area that's pretty amazing, but I don't unless yeah, I mean this the logistics of getting to that one's a little pain. But the Eichard Dam one would probably be industrial enough. That could be pretty cool. I'd like to
yeah,
check it out. So just let me know, man. I'd love to go back and see some of the family and whatnot, and I can show you around town when you're on your off time,
yeah.
maybe.
I
Um,
um I I like I said, this is an indie feature, and but I love these because I get a. It seems like I get a lot more freedom with what I get to do with the character. And I was talking with the kind of writer producer the other night, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna throw a little Jason Jason
Statham, Statham.
Statham. Yeah. I'm gonna throw a little Jason in on this one." And he's like, "But it's a mob movie," and I'm like, "I said I'm an actor. Can't we be anything?" And so this will be fun and a little bit of a challenge, and it's going to throw a lot of people for a loop. But as an actor, that's what I love to do: is take people out of their comfort zones.
Hmm.
I'm a firm believer that I'll share this. I'm a firm believer that this doesn't belong to me; that I'm a vessel, and that this all belongs to God, and I get to use it, and I get to play with it, and I get to do it. And I'm very thankful for that. It has become and is my passion, to to sh- to tell stories, to be these other people, um, and like I told you, the good, bad, and the ugly of it. And I want people to see humanity in my characters, and I either want them to see, ooh, that's somebody I want to be like, or ooh, I don't want to be anything like that person.
Yeah.
And whether I play my good guys or my bad guys.
Well, brother, I think you're doing good work, man, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, sharing your story, where you're at, man. I'm sure we'll meet up again sometime.
We've
And
been on here a while. I have just run my mouth.
nah, man, it's awesome. I love hearing people's stories. I really wanted to make this podcast and possibly call it Shannon Griffin and his amazing friends because I'm blessed to have this huge pool of individuals that are super talented in things that I have no idea about. And
That goes right back to you, though, brother. You are super talented, and you're this huge pool of friends that you have collectively are so grateful to have you in their lives. This one included.
well,
So,
thank you, brother. Well, man, I appreciate you. I love you, man. I'm going to keep following you. Let's get up again sometime soon, and we'll meet up in Hickory at this new shoot. And
do
we'll
it, dude. It's during like the 7th, 8th, or 9th of April. I would love to have you come up there, dude, and hang out. I'll buy you dinner and get you a real beer, not a virtual one.
awesome,
Yeah,
man. That sounds good. Well, brother, I will talk to you soon. Thanks for coming out, man. We love you, and hopefully, all these other people will start following you, my man.
thank you, Shannon. I appreciate you, brother, much.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon, bro.
Talk soon. DavisOsborne.com.
Peace.
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, oh, oh.